Let me show you this this opinion piece I found in The Guardian. The title says, "The ruble is soaring and Putin is stronger than ever. Our sanctions have backfired." Wow, you don't say. Took you 5 months to realize that? These Western sanctions against Russia are the most ill-conceived and counterproductive policy in recent international history. Military aid to Ukraine is justified, but the economic war is ineffective against the regime in Moscow and devastating for its unintended targets. I'll read to you more from the article, but I just want to say something. He said the term unintended target. Like as if the sanctions did work in Russia, that it's okay to make, the Russian population, random people in Russia suffer. To criticize Western sanctions is close to anathema. Defense analysts are dumb on the subject. Strategy think tanks are silent. Britain's putative leaders Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak compete in belligerent rhetoric, promising even tougher sanctions without a word of purpose. Yet, hint at skepticism on the subject and you will be excoriated as pro-Putin and anti-Ukraine. The reality of sanctions on Russia is that they invite retaliation. Putin is free to freeze Europe this winter. He has slashed supply from major pipelines such as Nord Stream 1 by up to 80%. World oil prices have surged and Eastern Europe's flow of wheat and other foodstuffs to Africa and Asia has been all but suspended. Britain's domestic gas bills face tripling inside a year. The chief beneficiary is none other than Russia, whose energy exports to Asia have soared, driving its balance of payments into unprecedented surplus. Man, seriously, did I not say exactly all of this months ago? How come it's like some Guardian piece, and it's just one, right, that I randomly stumble upon that has any common sense in it? The ruble is one of the world's strongest currencies this year, having strengthened since January by nearly 50%. You guys want to know how well the ruble is doing right now? Let's check $1 in rubles. 59. So $1 gets you 59 rubles. Let's compare that with the previous years, shall we? This is the best the ruble has had since around here? Yeah. So around 2018. My God. So they were saying, oh, we are going to crush Russia's currency and economy. You remember they were saying, Biden was saying that proudly? Dude, you literally boosted the ruble. It's now the best it's been in years. You utter complete clown. Moscow's overseas assets have been frozen and its oligarchs have relocated their yachts, but there's no sign that Putin cares. He has no electorate to worry him. Remember they were saying, oh man, the key to winning in Russia is to go ahead and punish all the Russian oligarchs, and then they are going to turn against Putin for, ruining their, 100 yacht garage and not being able to access their football clubs, and that's really, really going to do Putin in. All they succeeded in doing is, I really don't know what to call it except Russophobia. It's racism. When you're telling me that no Russian citizen can buy property in the EU, what the hell is that? So that means someone who criticizes Putin, someone who's maybe being persecuted in Russia, who's run away, cannot buy a house? How does that make any sense? They keep saying Putin is a dictator. Okay, so you're saying that the guy is a ruthless dictator, and yet you expect everyone to criticize him openly, even though you keep saying that that's impossible because you go to jail. And then even for the people who do it, you still treat them as if they're responsible? The interdependence of the world's economies, so long seen as an instrument of peace, has been made a weapon of war, right? So this is the idea behind, post-World War II, the post-World War II world and globalization, is that one of the pros to that is that, France and Germany, for example, their economies will be intertwined. The UK and Germany, they depend on each other for trade, for example. And as a result, they're not going to attack each other. So that's how Europe can avoid having another Holocaust, another World War I, another Cold War, etc. Right? That's what that sentence means. So the interdependence of the world's economies, so long seen as an instrument of peace, has been made a weapon of war. Politicians around the NATO table have been wisely cautious about escalating military aid to Ukraine. They understand military deterrence. They appear total ingenues on economics. Here, they all parrot Dr. Strangelove. They want to bomb Russia's economy back to the Stone Age. He says, I would be intrigued to know if any paper was ever submitted to Boris Johnson's cabinet forecasting the likely outcome for Britain of Russian sanctions. The assumption seems to be that if trade embargoes hurt, they are working. As they do not directly kill people, they are somehow an acceptable form of aggression. They are based on a neo-imperial assumption that Western countries are entitled to order the world as they wish. They are enforced, if not through gunboats, then through capitalist muscle in a globalized economy. Since they are mostly imposed on small, weak states soon out of the headlines, their purpose has largely been of feel-good symbolism. People in the West, especially in the West, they don't even understand what the word sanction even means. And those who know the word, who are familiar with it, don't fully understand the concept. Because for them, they think that, oh, well, if you sanction Russia, that means, Vladimir Putin is not going to have a mansion anymore or something. No. That means, well, forget Russia for a second, because he's about to get to why Russia's different. But in Venezuela, that means school children don't have pencils anymore or books. And then don't even get me started on Syria, I keep repeating this because it's so powerful. My cousins told me they would rather live under the bombs again than the sanctions. That's how bad the sanctions are. And then they say how, in this paragraph, he refers to Nicholas Mulder and says that, most of the sanctions wars are completely ineffective. They didn't work in Iran, nor Korea, nor Cuba, Venezuela, Russia. They never work. Moscow is neither small nor weak. Another observer, Richard Connolly at the Royal United Services Institute, has charted Putin's response to the sanctions imposed on him since his 2014 seizure of Crimea and Donbass. Their objective was to change Russia's course in those regions and deter further aggression. Their failure could hardly be more glaring. Apologists excuse this as due to the embargoes being too weak. The present ones, perhaps the toughest ever imposed on a major world power, may not be working yet, but will apparently work in time. They are said to be starving Russia of microchips and drone spares. It will soon have Putin begging for peace. So he's being sarcastic here, right? That, people saying, oh yeah, don't worry, the sanctions will work soon. Or that the sanctions are not strong enough. Apparently they don't understand that you've never had sanctions like this before, right? Iran used to be the number one sanctioned country, and now it's Russia. 5,500 plus sanctions. Apparently it's not enough. He continues to say here that sanctions have promoted trade with China, Iran, and India. Yes. Of course, the economy in Russia is weaker, but Putin is, if anything, stronger, while sanctions are coering a new economic realm across Asia, embracing an ever-enhanced role for China. Was this forecast? What have I been telling you? I mean, again, you don't need this Guardian piece to corroborate it. Just look it up yourself. Look up the ruble. Look up India and Russia. Russia's selling them oil at a discount in rupees and rubles, not in dollars. Saudi Arabia has given Biden the cold shoulder. You know, when Biden visited Saudi Arabia, they didn't even send the fucking king or the crown prince. Look, man, again, I'm no fan of Saudi Arabia or Biden. But when the president of the United States, the office of the president of the United States, or any country, it comes for an official state visit, you send someone to greet them of, an equal caliber. Doesn't matter what country they're from. It's the principle. I mean, this is so rude diplomatically. And when I spoke to Scott Ritter, you remember what he said? He said that, if I was in the president's team, I wouldn't have let him get off the plane. How shameful. That is really shameful. And Scott is right. Again, nothing to do with respecting Biden. You have a state visit. The most important politician, whether it's a president or a prime minister, is coming for an official visit. You send someone of the same caliber. And in the end, he did greet MBS, and it was an awkward fist bump. I mean, it would have been better to have MBS greet him at the airport than for that, because they tried to, make it look like, oh, I'm not going to shake his hand, and I'm not going to meet him, and Meanwhile, the West and its peoples have been plunged into recession. Leadership has been shaken, and insecurity spread in Britain, France, Italy, and the United States. Gas-starved Germany and Hungary are close to dancing to Putin's tune. Living costs are escalating everywhere. And yet still no one dares question sanctions. It is sacrilege to admit their failure or conceive retreat. The West has been enticed into the timeless irony of aggression. Eventually, its most conspicuous victim is the aggressor. Perhaps, after all, we should stick to war. I know, I would hope that he's writing that sarcastically, but I think there are a lot of people in politics, especially, the elites, who would very much like to see that. I don't agree with everything in this article, but the premise that sanctions have failed, absolutely. I mean, this was clear from the beginning, man. I want to be very clear that it's not just the sanctions haven't worked. They are working to a certain degree, but not the way they had hoped. And on top of that, they have backfired on the West. And on top of that, they have pushed Russia into China's arms towards the East, which is great. Because when you look at Western hegemony and how that's been going, well, this is a system, that's untenable. That doesn't mean that the next system, whatever that is, whether it's a multipolar world, who knows whether that's going to be better or not. But this one, it has to go. I used to joke to myself, maybe I said it to you, that the US is going to sanction so many people that it's going to end up sanctioning itself. This is not what I had imagined exactly, but it pretty much fits the bill.